Hello, this is Crystal Racing here with my opinion on the Max Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton corpse corner crash. Now, look at this Venn diagram. It reads, in this case, the attacker has only their front wing alongside the defender's wheel. The defender has the right to the racing line. A collision at the apex is entirely at fault of the attacker. Now, of course, looking at the previous pictures, of course, Lewis Hamilton arguably could have gone to the inside slightly more towards the right. I mean, of course, whilst there are, of course, some people who believe that Max Verstappen shut the door mid-corner, and, Fernando Alonso did opine that, he can't just somehow make Lewis Hamilton disappear, which is true. The thing is, Lewis Hamilton was the one making the attempt to overtake Max. And whilst a large part of me does see this whole thing as a racing incident, since both drivers were committed to more or less the same line around the corner, Max was committed to eventually going back to the apex of Copse, whilst Lewis Hamilton was obviously trying to lunge his car down the inside of Copse to overtake Max. Ultimately, the 10-second penalty does make sense for Lewis Hamilton, since he is the one in charge of attacking Max into the corner, and you have to now look at this still image of Max Verstappen fully committing to the corner. He possibly could have given a bit more room to Lewis and maybe even have conceded a corner to Lewis, since, of course, with Lewis's front wing being so close towards Max's front wheel at this point in time, it is kind of, Max probably should have been aware of the fact that Lewis was going to attempt to overtake him. However, though, looking at previous incidents Lewis Hamilton has been involved in, particularly with Alex Albon at 2020 Austria from last year, and of course 2019 Brazil in the bottom picture, Lewis Hamilton was handed a 5-second and a 5-second penalty, I beg your pardon, in both incidences with Alex Albon. Of course, the reason why he got more severe penalty for his collision with Max was due to the fact he took Max straight out of the race. But I've got to say this is really Lewis Hamilton's fault, because he's had these sort of incidents twice before in recent years, and he's been given a penalty, and yet, for some reason, Lewis decided to commit down the inside again. Yeah, I get it. Committed racing manoeuvre. You can't... Lewis saw a gap, but it was arguably a gap that was always going to narrow. And whilst, yes, I know earlier on this year, particularly at Imola, Lewis got shoved off the road by Max and was forced to back out of it. The thing is, you need to realise is that Lewis Hamilton has been punished for this sort of racing before. And yes, I know if I can find the footage, but I can't, of the overtaking manoeuvre he did successfully complete on Charles Leclerc towards the end of the race. Lewis did successfully go down the inside of Copse to overtake Charles, and if you see in the still image that Lewis was hugging the inside line a lot more tightly against Charles, meaning that there was no contact between the pair of them, hence why Lewis Hamilton got 10-second penalty for his collision with Max Verstappen. And, whilst Max arguably could have backed out, it is ultimately Lewis Hamilton's fault. So, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe to Crystal Racing, and I'll see you again next time.